Hello and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast. This is Jill Bodensteiner, Director of Athletics at St. Joseph's University. As leaders, it's really important that we're clear regarding our goals and our vision and how those integrate into the greater university goals. We also need to collectively create a strategy and a culture that are going to help us reach our goals. This is an evolving exercise that requires an openness to continuous improvement. That's why I follow the One Question Leadership Podcast, because I love learning as much as I possibly can from my colleagues that helps me be the best that I can be. So my message for the day, keep learning, keep leading.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at OneQ Leadership.
Our guest today is Dr. Joe Karlgaard. Joe is the Director of Athletics at Rice University. Greetings, Joe. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Ty. Thanks for having me.
Glad you're on again with us here at 1Q. You've been there for almost 7 years, I guess it is?
Yeah, I started in October 2013. It's hard to believe it's 2020 already.
It is. It keeps going, right? It doesn't stop for anybody.
No, it doesn't.
Kind of situation. You and I had a conversation recently. I told you I've had a number of guests talk about mid-level management and then the people in the mid-level management positions actually learning to be leaders and leadership development provided for those in mid-level management. And you said something interesting to me is that you've seen a lot of people throughout your ranks at Rice go off to other jobs. So it is of the utmost importance for you to have talented people in those entry level and positions that are going up to junior level, mid-level as you come up to the ranks. Talk to me a little bit about how you ensure that at Rice.
Well, I think about each of the senior leaders that we have in the athletics department really is kind of a mini athletics director themselves. And they have to be thinking about their talent pipelines in the same way that I think about mine. So we've been very fortunate in that we've had a really strong senior team throughout my tenure and a really diverse set of experiences. And I think that our senior leaders have done an outstanding job of making sure that the pipeline of talent is filled, such that if they are to leave, that we're able to, bring somebody up to their level from within. And, that goes back to a tenet that I took from Built to Last, which is my favorite management book, which is the best talent is homegrown talent. If you can structure your organization that way, it doesn't always work out, but if you can structure your organization that way, people that they spend some time when they come into the organization learning the values and culture of the place. And thus, if you're able to promote from within, you don't have to worry about that part of it as much. So I really give a lot of credit to the senior associate and associate level ADs in our department who've done a masterful job of hiring good junior level talent.
And there's an aspect of, you may be talented, but there is the leadership aspect where you have to actually learn and practice leadership. So tell me about that, where you've seen that aspect when your senior associates or your associates have moved on and the people they've hired are talented and understand the values, but there is that leadership part. Tell me about how that's implemented.
Yeah, it's we try to expose our even our junior level people to as many different opportunities as possible. They could be external to Rice. It could be leadership development academies. It could be professional development. It could be conferences. It could be any of those. But also within trying to arm people who are interested in rising through the ranks, because not everybody is. We may have a marketing person who's very, very happy at the level that they're at, and that's fine. But if you're interested in rising through the organization, you're interested in becoming an athletics director, or you want to go work on the general campus in a higher role, then what I like to do is think about ways that we can kind of shuffle the deck and provide people with opportunities outside of their specific silo. And I really credit my experience as a Division III AD with giving me that approach. Because at the Division III level, you just don't have as many staff people around, and so you have to take a generalist approach, and everybody has to know a little bit about everything. And so, we're really fortunate right now. We launched a strategic plan last April, and so we have lots of opportunities for people to step outside their comfort zone and develop leadership capabilities in areas where they may not have seen those opportunities before.
Do you put people around them, I guess. Does somebody identify something they want to be a part of, or do you go to people and say, I know your skill set and I know you probably could take some of this on too? Or how does that process work?
It's a combination of the two. We first look for people to raise their hands, but then we try to fit people, in areas where we think that they'd provide the best perspective. So, you may have on a certain committee within the strategic plan, for example, you may have 9 experts in that committee, and you really do need an outsider. You need somebody who has no idea what's going on, just to be a little bit disruptive in those meetings and help people think differently. So it's a combination of the two. Generally, I've been very happy with the response that we've gotten from our junior and entry-level employees on their engagement with the strategic plan and our goal committees.
That's a pretty excellent experience to be a part of, right? As you come in entry level into your career and you're going through implementing a strategic plan, and you get the chance to be a part of something where it probably wasn't a part of your job description, but you're coming in and you're learning.
Yeah, and I think having that, for that next job, whether it's at Rice or some other place, I think that really helps you stand out among your peers. If you're not just seen as the development guy, you're not just seen as the compliance person. I mean, I think, the test case that I think of, the person who really grew the most throughout his time at Rice was Brian Blair, who's now the chief operating officer at Washington State. And Brian came in as our compliance guy.
Right.
And by the time he left, he started as an associate AD. By the time he left, he was senior associate AD. He had oversight of both track programs. He at one time had oversight of our soccer program. He was number 2 on football. He oversaw strength and conditioning. Oh, and yeah, he had compliance. It was a good thing we didn't break any rules while Brian was there, because his plate was really full. Mm-hmm. But that really helped him leverage that opportunity to go to Washington State, be the lead administrator for football, and eventually, get promoted into COO. So that's an opportunity we've tried to replicate.
And Pat named him the point person for their strategic plan, which
he did.
Is an excellent experience too, right, as you move up through the ranks.
That's right, and Brian had that experience. He didn't get to see the implementation of our strategic plan, but he was there when we were having those really tough discussions about what we wanted to do. So, it's just, if the more, I've been fortunate to have people drag me into those conversations along my career, and so, the more I can replicate the experiences that Brian had at Rice, I think the better off Rice is going to be as an organization, and the more, I think the better off college athletics will be.
All right. Well, you've heard me say my mantra on leadership: the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of, and that sounds like what you're doing there. I wonder how much interaction do you have with the junior level and the entry level staff and employees there, even maybe when they first get there or just throughout their tenure, as they involve themselves in other parts of beyond their primary responsibility?
Probably not as much as I like or should have. I really respond first and foremost to those who seek me out. With 350 student athletes and 150 employees, most athletics directors have at least that many at the FBS level, and somebody like Gene Smith's got many, many more with close to 40 sports. So you get stretched thin. For me, if there's somebody that I see that I has taken on a project and really done something with it, or has shown interest in another area, I'll try and provide them with more opportunities. But at least at a minimum, for our employees when they come into the organization, I meet them, greet them, tell them what we're about. We articulate our values through our strategic plan as well, so they know what they're getting into. And then, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, I've just got a great senior team that I think does a terrific job of mentoring those people and preparing them for the future.
So you probably hear from them, right, in terms of because you mentioned when we talked earlier, you were happy about the talent at the entry level and the junior level, because that means there's longevity and talent in your staff. And I think that's important. Does your senior level, do they talk about them? Like, hey, we got a couple people here I just need to tell you about her. She's great, or something like that, right?
We try to share those within senior staff meetings as much as possible. Shout outs to people who are doing outstanding work. Sometimes it's obvious, We've got somebody who runs social media for most of our programs, and he does a fantastic job, and so it's pretty evident to the people around the table that he's doing really, really well. But you may not see you may not see that outstanding athletic trainer who's helping us on the insurance front, or somebody who's, getting our athletes ready to play. And so we try to share that as much as possible. But our senior team is just, they're really good at creating leadership opportunities for junior staff members, and really trying to grow them up in the values of the organization as well.
That recognition is important, right? People want to know that they're valued in the organization, especially if they're doing a great job. Do you have a formal approach to that, or is it just a senior leader comes by, or you mentioned that social media?
No, we do. In fact, to go back to Brian Blair, when he was at Rice, he created something called the WHO, which is the Workplace Happiness Objective.
Okay.
So it's a committee that basically runs our all staff meetings, but they also do things like Employee of the Month. We have profiles on all of our employees once a month in our staff newsletter. And then when we do all staff meetings, we ask for nominations for the, I guess it's Employee of the Semester or whatever. And then, whoever, we send out the names of the people, and then they vote. And so we recognize people. And it's generally folks below the senior administrative level. And, it doesn't include head coaches either. So it does afford an opportunity for the junior people in our organization to be recognized in front of everybody, and I know they appreciate that.
We talked once here, and this is a little off topic, and you told me that the One Question podcast is short enough for you to listen to and then go in, and when you guys do some staff development conversations, you guys talk about it a little bit. The structure of that meeting was interesting to me. Is that something that happens weekly, or what is that when you guys talk about something you've learned or something you heard?
We've had rotations on books. We've done podcasts. We're shifting in the new year. We're going to go to more of an article-based. So it's just been something to try and create a low-cost educational opportunities for our
people
staff.
Thinking about things,
yeah, keep them sharp, and somebody who's totally focused on facilities may not know anything about NIL. So we've got to make sure that we're affording those folks opportunities to learn outside of their silo.
Do you have them reading the Kevin Blue super academic?
Well, they all know that Kevin and I were colleagues at Stanford, and so and then they hear me heap praise upon his thought leadership too. Right. So they all do it without my request.
Okay, excellent. Well, Joe, this has been an excellent conversation. I probably said it last time you were on, but I think you're doing an excellent job there in creating and maintaining a successful environment and a successful culture for success there at Rice. Appreciate you being here on the One Question podcast.
I appreciate you having me. I think you do a great job as well, Ty.
Thank you. That was Dr. Joe Karlgaard. He is the Director of Athletics at Rice University. And of course, this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today.
This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.